My name is Kenny Stanford. I am the owner of Grit Fitness and the creator of the Grit Ultra. And this is Melanie Mullins. Melanie, you want to tell them about yourself?
Hey, I'm Melanie. I am a Grit Fitness member, me and my whole family, and I am part of the event coordinating team here at the gym.
And Mel was a crucial part of the Grit Ultra in coordinating that event, and she was assistant race director. And not only that, but I actually ran the race, or attempted to run the race. You'll hear about that a little more later. And Mel was her and April, they were my crew. So she was pretty crucial and essential to the happenings at the Grit Ultra. So the idea for the Grit Ultra came from me. I overheard some of my friends here at the gym at Grit Fitness talking about this other race that had a 4.1 6-mile loop, and you had to run that every hour on the hour. You had to start another loop, and it didn't really have an end. It was the last man standing. So when it finally had one runner finish a loop, that was the winner, and that's how that thing. So it was open-ended. And I thought, that sounds really cool. I would love to do something like that. Like, I would love to put something like that on, but I wanted it to have like a cap on it. So I realized that if we did that for 24 hours, that would be 100 miles. And I was like, that's perfect. That's how the Grit Ultra went. It's 24 hours. Every hour on the hour, you have to start the loop at the beginning of the next hour. And as long as you can complete the loop within the hour, you get to start another loop. When you can no longer complete the loop within the hour, you are done, you're out. And the way that we'll decide who the winner of this thing is, it will just be whoever the fastest accumulated time is. So strategy-wise, you would think you want to finish your loop not as fast as you possibly can, but you want to leave some sort of buffer there so that you get some sort of break. And after you've got it a few times, you want that break. Like, you're looking for that break. And typically when you run an ultra, there's not really a break per se. It's a very different race mentally because of that 1 hour cutoff every time. And so the way that we did it is you could sign up as an individual or you could sign up as a team. And the team option, you could do 2, 3, or 4 members on your team. The only rule there was each member had to complete a minimum of 4 loops. And so, again, every hour on the hour, you've got to complete that loop, and you've got to be ready to start the next loop at the beginning of that next hour. So that's the format. We launched registration on Black Friday, and I was like, man, if we get 10 people to do this thing, we're doing it. We actually ended up with 7 individuals and 7 teams. I was like, oh, we got a race. This is going to be awesome. And it was. It was the coolest New Year's party I have ever been a part of. Best thing I've ever done on New Year's. So let's talk about the individual runners. It's me. Part of the reason I wanted to put the race on was because I wanted to run it. So it was me, Roy, Christina, Tim, Austin, Wade, and Chris. And yeah, that's a ragtag group, bunch of random ultra runners right there. And the goal was 100 miles for each of us. That was the goal. And then let's talk about the teams. We had a team of 3 that had some extremely fast guys on it, like next level. They were like the Midnight Runners, Dallas Midnight Runners. That was their official team name. They definitely set the bar for the record as far as the teams go at the Grit Ultra. And then we had a high school team. All the kids on that team, they were all high school kids. Never done anything like this. The girl that put the team together is a member of our gym. She's incredible. She actually is a kids coach here at our gym. And then we've got one of our members here, Megan Fail. She put a team together. She's brand new to running. Saw that we were putting this thing together and was like, I want to do that.
Here's Megan, her first race ever, Grit Ultra. Go Megan!
We had another team husband and wife team, Laura, Sue, Kevin, Carl, and they had Caitlin and Rogelio on their team, and they did awesome. They're all members of the gym as well. Who else was on this team? Who else we got?
We had Lindsay,
Kinsey, Jeff, and Tammy. They were a great team. They did awesome. Matt, Joey, and Mo. Those are some fast guys too.
big fast guys.
Big. They were big dudes and they were fast dudes.
And then our other team is our Sparrows.
Oh yes, the Sparrows. They're typically a team of 6, and they brought it down to 3 for this one. But the other 3 ladies showed up around like 2 a.m.
and
paced not just them, but everybody that was on course throughout the rest of the event, and it was awesome. It was incredible. The key to being able to put on a race like this, be the creator of the race, but also run in the race, is you got to have a good team. So I contacted Reese Cook. I was like, man, can you be the race director for this thing because I want to run it? And he was like, yeah, man, totally. He's like, let's do this. Then I reached out to Mel, and Mel's actual response was I wouldn't miss it for the world. And that's what made it possible for me to be able to run in it. I think the biggest concerns for me were things like the course being lit at night so we could stay on course. The last thing I want to do is get people lost in the middle of the night. The course marking was a big thing that I was concerned about. The timing was a big thing. We've never timed a race before. That was a big issue that I wanted to make sure was done well. And we wanted it, even though there was only, I think, 30 people signed up for the race, we wanted it to be an event that it looked like 200 people signed up for the race. We wanted it to be the real deal. And so we went all out. Like, we got really nice medals. We made sure the timing was on point. We had live results the whole time. And again, the course was very well marked. We had these motivational signs out there and stuff like that. We had shirts. We had nice shirts made. And then we had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, fruit snacks, actual fruit, not just fruit snacks. Coffee, ramen. We had hot chocolate. We had hot ramen. All this kind of stuff, just like you would see at any big race that has 200 to 1,000 people at it, with the idea that we want to show people we're going to do this thing right, so next year that this is the kind of race they want to be a part of. The venue is owned by a friend of ours, actually a member of the gym. She's actually a coach here. Her dad owns it, and it's an old golf course. Used to be
Riverside Country Club.
Riverside Country Club. Anyways, her dad is actually a land surveyor, and when he said that we could use the property, he heard what we were doing, and he hands us a map with the course laid out on it, and it was this perfectly marked off 4.16 mile loop. It's actually a cow pasture now. It's an overgrown golf course that is now a cow pasture. So there's broken up asphalt, broken up concrete, golf cart trails, sand traps out there. And it ends up being like the absolute perfect venue for this event. We literally cut the course, like we mowed it, like it's just a cow pasture. He drew the course on a map and then we mowed it. And we mowed it several times before the event, trying to get it just right. But it's a rough and rugged trail. It's not a running trail. You know, it's got the cow potholes, it's got cow pies. It was a pretty treacherous course to the point where a lot of people were taking a tumble. Several people were falling and tripping, and especially at night, it got really sketchy. Being able to see where you were going and, you know, avoid the potholes and the rugged terrain and all that. And then 2 days before the race is when we finally had the course officially marked finally. There would be a stake right in the center of the mowed path, and so that's how you knew you were on the right track. And at night, we had these little lights on the stakes. That was definitely a concern. Was we had no way to test it because the lights needed to last for at least 12 hours. That's about how long it was dark. It ended up working out really well. So the race was going to happen on a Tuesday. That was December 31st, and obviously we're constantly checking the weather, especially starting 10 days out. And I think one of the big concerns was it was supposed to rain.
It was supposed to be cold
Extremely
beforehand, and then it was supposed to rain halfway through the race.
Yeah.
And we were worried about that, so we had tents set up, or canopies set up. We needed to make sure that the timing equipment had to be covered.
And then leading up to the race, I think the excitement and the nerves, everybody was kind of on edge, like ready to get this thing started, because you just never know how it's going to shake out when it's 100 miles, even on the relay teams, because a lot of those guys, they had never done anything like this before. So what did we learn on this race?
That timing equipment
Yeah,
was
game changer.
Game changer.
Very nice.
Like, let's put on events over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because the timing, having the access to the timing equipment really took my stress off, because I wasn't having to manually enter scores and calculate paces and, like we have done in the past.
Just, like, instantly
it was
updated.
instantly
It's
updated.
really nice to have that.
Yes.
Reese showed up on race day at 5 a.m. He knew that Roy and I, although we were the creators of the race, the owners of the race, whatever you want to call it, we were going to run the race, and he wanted us to be able to do that fully. And he was the race announcer. It was pretty incredible. Every time they would make the curve and he could see him, he would be announcing, so and so is coming through. Tim is coming through. Wade is coming through, and everybody would cheer.
What's up, guys?
And he was just on point, like literally for 36 hours. He made that thing happen. Obviously, he had people helping him, but he was literally the backbone of it. And then Randy assisted him a few times on the announcing. Randy did our pre-race prayer. And yeah, Randy was there to support and to really make sure everything, as far as the race directing, was completely covered.
3, 2, 1.
For the first loop, we had 14 runners starting because there were 7 individuals and there were 7 teams. So that put 14 people on the course. And that first loop, man, the excitement, the energy.
Whoa! Way too fast.
Everybody was chit-chatting and talking.
We thought we were going to have a good 35, 40 minutes, to get all calmed down and, ready for the next loop. And then here comes Jeff. Comes in running a 5:39 pace.
24:33.
We weren't ready for it. We weren't ready for someone to come in at 25 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't make that mistake again.
No.
They were ready on the next loop.
No, the next loop we were like, oh, it'll slow down. Nope. Those guys came in between 25 and 27 minutes every single loop.
25:53.
That was really cool having some superstar runners out there like that. The single runners. Let's talk about the single runners and how the race ended up with just one finisher for the solo 100 milers. We had this guy, Austin, show up. He did not understand what he was getting into, but he figured, what the heck, let's try this thing. So
he ended up
58:08.
3 loops. And
he
then
got
tried
in
the
3
fourth.
complete loops, and he tried the 4th and didn't finish it in enough time.
Nay paced him on that final loop. She knew. She was like, this guy ain't gonna make it. I'm gonna make sure he doesn't die out there. And that's what she did. She brought him in and made sure he returned. So
that was awesome. I was like, you're going at least 1 more.
Good job. Way to stick with it.
What was your biggest motivation to come out and do this?
Self-improvement. I've always wanted to improve myself, and this looked like an opportunity to do so. I was hoping to go a little bit farther, but I have sights on getting some rest and then preparing for the next one.
and then we had Tim. Tim was the next guy on the list.
He finished 6 complete loops and didn't finish the 7th.
So almost 30 miles. And Tim is, I think, 50 years old, and he was pushing himself. His goal was 100 miles, and I hope Tim comes back next year, try to redeem himself. He stayed the entire race. He didn't leave. He didn't pack up. He hung out, and he cheered on the other racers, and he was fully a part of the whole thing. I think our next runner to drop was Roy. Roy made it about
30 miles.
He made it 30 miles.
58:27.
So yeah, that's just a hard pace to hold. I know I can keep going.
The right heel was really the kind of the showstopper. It started to progressively get worse, and I'm overcompensating, trying to stay off of it. And starting to get aggravated, and I don't want to, over-aggravate it to the point where I'm limping around for the next 3 weeks. I mean, you just have to be smart and pull the plug if it gets too bad. So.
And then we had Christina.
Christina
She made it 50.
Gotta make it to 50. Do it. She okay?
Her goal was 50, and she felt really good about making that 50 miles. And then there was me. I made it that 54 miles. So at maybe around the 30-mile mark, my knees, they started hurting so bad. I kept having these conversations with myself, like, all right, Kenny, this is gonna be your last loop. You're not gonna do another loop. And then I would finish with about 15 minutes left, on the timer before I had to start again. And I was like, that's when I would use that time to talk myself back in. No, we got one more loop, Kenny. Let's do one more loop. I did that for another 20 miles. I remember on the 11 o'clock loop, I convinced myself, I was like, this is my last loop. I don't care what happens. I'm not doing one more loop. I'm not doing it. And then I remember I crossed the finish line at midnight, and not at midnight, right before midnight, like 11:45.
52:13.
And Mandy, my wife, she was like, you are going to start the year running. You're not going to start the year as a quitter. Like, you're going to run this loop. The fireworks are going to be going off. We did fireworks at midnight. So I kissed Mandy at midnight, gave her a big old kiss, and I took off, and that was my final loop. So I got 54 miles in.
Yeah, I wanted it to be like a ridiculous challenge. That it is.
And then Wade would have been the next one, right? Homeboy Wade came in from Colorado. The furthest he'd ever run was 30 miles, and he ended up putting 70 miles down. So he was our, I guess, second to last DNF, or our last. He was our final DNF. So
Yep, he was
he
our
made it the
final
furthest
DNF.
behind Chris.
Good job.
I'm done. I gotta throw it in. It's over. Unfortunately.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything.
Yeah, so the only finisher of this thing ended up being Chris Rogloski, and she made it look pretty easy, especially compared to the rest of us.
It might have been her crew chief.
It might have been her incredible crew chief that kept massaging her and making her stretch, and had a meal plan for her and a supplement plan for her to make sure that she was good and fed, and made her drink water and all of those things. And I think she massaged her legs, changed her shoes if she needed that, and all that stuff. And we started doing the call for Chris, because she would kind of zone out.
She'd be asleep.
She'd literally fall asleep on her break sometimes. Literally.
Chip.
Chip check.
Chip
Chris
check.
check.
Chris check. Watch check.
Watch check. Yeah. It's definitely one of those things that without the support that she had, she would not have been able to do what she did. She would tell you that in a heartbeat. It was Mel constantly telling her, hey, you got this, massaging her. She had the Theragun every time she came through. Just like a boxer, at the end of the round when they come into the corner, she was there massaging the shoulders. Hey, you're number one. You've got this. You're going to finish this thing. So.
I mean, other than her being super tired and super hungry, she was running really well.
Oh, she ran great the whole time.
She felt really good. I mean, we did a really good job.
She looked strong the whole time.
We did a really good job of making sure that her legs were in tip-top shape every time it was time to get to the starting line.
And then not just that, but the pacers that are going out, being able to take her mind off. She had some really, really dark moments where physically we knew she could do it, but you get to this point mentally where you just don't want to do it. You're like, what's the point?
She was overtired.
Not only that, in her mind, everyone else had quit. She's like, what do I have? Why am I still doing this? And sometimes it's like, just because you can. Like, that's why you're doing it anyways. So let's finish what we started. So she easily could have taken that easy card and said, I'm done. When Wade was out, like, she would have been the furthest runner, and nobody would have thought any less of her at all, and she knew that. But as a support team, we know what she's capable of, and we weren't going to let her quit. And she knew that. She knew that we were going to see her through. And I just think just having that support, yeah, she was able to do something that I think without the support, she probably wouldn't have been able to do. I think a big part of this race a fun part of the race was having all the pacers. Mel's husband paced me for a loop, and it was like at just the right time. It seemed like the pacers always showed up at just the right time, just when you needed them. One of the best pacers, I would say, out there was our videographer that we hired. And it turned out that he ended up being like a key pacer for a lot of us, especially me. And one of the things that he hooked me up with on one of the loops was I like to listen to comedians when I'm doing these ultras, because it literally, laughter, it takes your mind to just a whole nother place. And again, it's a mental thing. So we got to listen to Brian Regan, hilarious comedian.
Not a whole lot more humbling in life. Striking out in slow pitch.
He was able to pull him up on his phone, and then Chris, on one of her final runs, Will paced her. She was watching The Office. Holding the phone, watching The Office. While she's running her 100 miles. So, hey, whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes. One of the runners that we didn't mention yet was Matt's abs.
The abs are back.
So it's pretty funny. He's at the start line. There's only one guy with no shirt on, and I'm gonna be honest with you. If I had abs like that, I wouldn't have worn a shirt either. But I don't, so I had a shirt on. Yeah, as he's finishing his first loop, Reese doesn't call out, "Here comes Matt!" It's, "Here comes Matt's abs!" And the crowd was constantly going wild every time the abs would come through. I did sleep for a bit, but I slept.
A bit?
I slept for a bit.
3 hours.
I slept for
3
a bit, but it was under the main tent right there at the start line, because I felt like I wouldn't miss anything if I was there. So I did get to experience the bonfire a little bit, and it was pretty incredible, seeing everybody around it. And
It was a lot of fun watching people be able to just hang out. And when you're at an event like this, you become each other's brothers and sisters, and you don't want to leave.
so as this 24-hour, 100-mile race is coming to an end, we're starting to realize that, Chris is definitely going to finish this thing. All 7 relay teams are going to finish this thing. And, the sun came back up, and everybody's starting to rally again, and all the support and just the hype is starting to build again, because, you get tired and you get worn out, and it gets kind of monotonous, but these people are fixing to finish something monumental and epic. Just knowing what Chris had gone through, and just she was constantly smiling. It's really hard to tell the actual pain that she's in. It's like, you think to yourself, this must be easy for you. But we know it's not. But she just figures out this way to just smile through it. Oh, we cannot go any further without mentioning this. Her final lap, her final loop, was her fastest loop. Think about that. Her final loop was her fastest loop. The girl is crazy.
She had Justin running with her.
Yeah. So she had Justin Lang decided on that final loop. He said, "I'm going to run with you." So they ran that final loop together.
Are you running with me?
I am.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
Okay.
I think she held right at a 9-minute pace for that final loop. And that's a pretty incredible deal. So, yeah. Johnny was on a golf cart for the last three laps, following her with a boombox with her theme music, her pump up, hype up song. you know, kind of pushing her to finish. So that was pretty cool. Chris ran her very first ultra in 2018. She ran a 50-mile race. I think she had never done, the furthest she had run before that was an Ultra Beast, which is a Spartan race. Her next stab at it was 50 miles at Brazos Bend. She did a 50-miler, and then Habanero was her first 100-mile race, and she ran that one with me, like side by side. And because of me, it took her 28 hours, but we kind of vowed like, hey, we're gonna stay together for this whole race. She could have, who knows how fast she could have run it. So on this one, this Grit Ultra, we got to witness what Chris is really capable of, and it was just, we knew she could do it, and she could do it well, but to witness it and to be able to see her run kind of untethered and just do her thing, when she crossed that finish line, I know that she felt just like some extreme pride in being able to say, I just ran 100 miles in a little over 17 hours.
So you just ran 100 miles.
I did.
Faster than you ever have.
A lot faster.
In your life.
Yes.
You started running faster after mile 85. You went to a real dark spot there in the middle of the night. How did you get through that?
A lot of friends.
Yeah.
Everybody pacing me. There were, it honestly was the people not counting on me, but there for me. There were several laps I was not sure that I was gonna finish. I almost completely gave up. Sat down, I was almost done. But then I realized if I can push through, if I can get there, no matter how much time I have left, the people there at camp are gonna take care of me and send me out on the next one. And every time after one of those really bad laps, the next one went great. And so I always knew if I could just get through it and get back to my people, the next one would be way better. And then I had pacers every single lap, I think the entire time, which was huge, because I could not have done that by myself. I'm not a night runner at all. And it was definitely in that like 12 to 6, maybe 1 or 2 to 6 time slot. I struggle at that point because I'm ready for it to be daytime. I'm ready to like, I hit that exhaustion, and that's what it was, is exhaustion. I started feeling dizzy. I was just at the end of my rope. And then the day comes and we go again. So.
What are you gonna go eat?
I'm gonna eat a Hamilton from the 421 Coffee House and Bistro and some raspberry chocolate ice cream.
Congratulations.
I've been thinking about that for the last 12 hours maybe.
The pride that we take in seeing one of our own people accomplish something like that, like it was just incredible. So many hugs, so many tears, happy tears, just the joy of like, can you believe you just did that? It was incredible to witness. What was your take on it?
Seeing her cross the finish line, it was like a proud mom moment. You know, she finishes and she comes across the line. You put her medal on her, and everyone just like,
yeah,
it was just like a herd, you know, like just a mosh pit of love. And I literally stood back and watched it, and just tears just rolling down my face of, we did it. And then here comes my daughter running across.
Yeah, and gave her that hug.
And she was done. She sat down 3 feet past the finish line.
But I hit my 100th mile while back there, and I ended up with like 100.
Chris Rulowski, 16 hours, 57 minutes, and 44 seconds.
Yeah, under 17 hours.
Our only 100 miles.
And she sat there, and she couldn't get up, but everybody that came in after her.
And then she started cheering for everybody else. And it was pretty cool because the teams, they all staged themselves to where they were all going to cross the finish line together, like as a team, because you just got one runner out there. And they would all sync up with that runner, whoever that final runner was, and they would all run through, and we'd place those medals around their neck. congratulating
everyone else and putting medals on people.
She's hugging people and cheering them across the line.
She has the crazy ability to do everything with a smile, and it's genuine.
And honestly, if you'd have walked up and you didn't know that she had just run 100 miles, you wouldn't be able to tell. You'd have no idea.
Not at all. Her braids stayed real tight.
That's rad.
And not only that, to put on a race like this is just a ton of effort and a ton of work. And to have someone, especially considering she was the only one left out there as far as the solo runner goes, to have her finish that, it made it all worth it, like putting the thing on. So it was really cool that she finished, and that she finished well. Yeah, what she's accomplished and like, I think this race
Hey Chris, one more lap.
really solidified for her, I am a legit ultra runner, like this is real. I think that she's just getting started and this is gonna be a big year for her. We are definitely doing this thing next year, so you're going to want to visit www.gritultra.com and you'll find out all the information about how awesome it was this past year and how much more awesome it's going to be next year. We want as many people as we can get to come party with us on New Year's Eve again.
Bring your fireworks.
Bring your sparklers, bring your friends, you can bring fans, bring a group, make sure you got you a crew. We can't, bring a tent. And let's have some fun.
1, 2, 3,
Sure. But you have to try to keep up. Yes. That one's a good one. My son.